So many people have been asking for me to make a tutorial on how I made the suit. So I finally pulled my stuff together and decided, okay, here we go. Here's all the stuff. Okay, I need to know all the steps. I need to write it all down. I sat down and finally pulled it all together, and here we are. So from start to finish, this is how I built it. So here we go. The first thing I did was go online and find some 3D models of Snorlax. ModelResource.com has models for various different games from all systems, which are very good for making Pepakura models. This is where I found Snorlax. I imported it to Pepakura Designer. If you haven't used Pepakura before, there are videos that show you how to use Pepakura. When I was done, I came up with something that looks like this. Then I went and printed it out, cut it out with some scissors, just to get all the pieces separated. And after that, I took an X-Acto knife to it. Now you're saying, why didn't we just use the 2D layout that was unfolded when we unfolded it in Pepakura? You see, the problem with that is that sometimes the textures don't match up with the actual polygons, and here you can see a line for the polygon, and here you can see a line for the texture. Once you put all the pieces together, you'll have a small scale model of whatever it is you're working on. In this case, it's Snorlax, and he looks very sunburnt. That's only because I had pink cardstock. It's okay, don't worry about him, he's fine. Don't want to do these steps? Well, guess what? If you go to Etsy and search Snorlax cosplay, you can find patterns that I made. Basically, all the steps I just told you to do are already done. Once you've completed those steps or bought my product, you can project those patterns onto the wall to the scale that you need them to be. This requires math. And you simply just trace out the patterns, following every line, including the lines that are inside the shapes. Oh, and you wouldn't even believe it, Morty. What's the next step? Yep, that's right. We gotta trace out the fucking patterns again. Yep. Oh, I said trace, I meant cut. You gotta cut out the patterns again. Once you did that part, you gotta go and put them down, tape them down to the foam, and trace them out real good like. This takes a little while, because you want to make sure that you don't fuck it up. Let me show you what it looks like at normal speed. Okay, let's go. Mark out all the registration keys. And label your pieces. Guess what? We're cutting again. What a surprise. Make the pattern, cut it out. Make the pattern, cut it out. Trace the pattern, cut it out. Now, important thing for you youngins out there, don't cut on a table that you shouldn't cut on, otherwise it'll look like this. Yeah, glue the pieces together now. It's fine. Just put a little bit of barge on there, because too much is a little gunky, but too little is not enough. So just like a thin layer, you know. That's the whole reason you're here. You know what you're doing. You just want to see me do it. It's not because you don't know what you're doing at all. Why am I so awkward? I'm so awkward. You can see it looks a little gunky, but that's because my barge is old. And then 5 minutes later, we let that set, and it looks to be not glossy anymore. Here you can see where I missed a spot, but that's okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. Then you line up the edges and the lines. Stretching it both ways makes sure it doesn't go anywhere. Keep doing that with every piece, and then you get something that looks like this. A big foam body. Once you complete the foam, you gotta repeat the process again on the fur. Make sure when you're laying out the patterns that you have the bottom facing downwards with the fur, because you want the fur to go downwards, because that's how gravity works. Another process that takes forever. If you don't know anything about sewing, that's a 1/2 inch ease. It's necessary so that you can sew the two pieces together, because if you were just to cut it right where the line of the pattern is, then you'd have to also sew it at that line, which doesn't work because you need extra fabric to actually hold on to it. Remember that these patterns are inverted because we're putting the patterns on the back of the fur. And of course, label everything. Don't mess it up. It's not worth it. And then you're left with that. Needs some grooming, but it's okay. As for the details, here's a toe claw. I made the patterns out of cardboard and hot glued them together, then slapped some Warbler on them. Prime them up with your favorite primer, and paint them appropriately. As for the frame, it's made with a hiking backpack and a frame made out of aluminum flat bar. Here you can see the bars connected with some bolts and nylock nuts. Here on the back side of the hiking backpack, you can see that the bolts are attached to the flat bar, putting all of the weight of the suit on my back rather than on my shoulders or head. The bars circle around the armholes to support the body and the shape of the arms. There's also an aluminum ring around the inside of the head to keep its shape and to allow me to puppet the head, with pieces of foam glued down on either side of the bar. As you can see in this nasty foothole, a shoe is simply just glued in. Once you put all the pieces together, you get a suit. A full suit. And that's how I made Snorlax. Hope that helps you understand what I did. In the description, I'll leave some videos to places that I referred to when I was building my suit, as well as the resources that I used. Please feel free to follow me on various social medias. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Thanks again. Bye! 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 Oh! Thank you, and have a good night. Hello, this is not the person you're trying to call. You have reached Rejection Hotline.